movie coming out in 5 weeks.
How excited are you?
So we're all obviously going to go see Spider-Man Brand New Day when it comes out, but some of us are more prepared than others. This isn't really like the previous Spider-Man movies where you had to only have like a baseline knowledge of what happened in the other movies to know. Like, you know, in Spider-Man Far From Home, you had to watch Endgame to know that Iron Man died, but like, obviously, you watched Endgame.
Because this movie's a lot more street level than the other movies, it's tied to a lot more street level Marvel projects, which are mostly shows. A lot of these shows are actually pretty old, and were kind of forgotten about for a while until they started to bring them back recently.
Back in the early 2010s, Marvel started putting out these shows on Netflix called the Defender Saga. It was basically like the street level Avengers. They didn't really handle like, you know, aliens or anything. They handled crime on the street. These shows were usually a lot more dark and gritty than anything in the Marvel movies, but they were still canon to the entire universe. The main characters in the saga, who all got their own show, are Daredevil, Punisher, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, and Jessica Jones. The only ones that I would say are really relevant to this movie are Daredevil and Punisher. I wouldn't really say any of the overarching plots in the shows are really relevant to this movie, but there are a few things that happen that are going to make an appearance, and it makes more sense if you know where they came from. We'll start with Daredevil, since he was the first show that came out. I wouldn't say anything in the first season of Daredevil is really too important to understand this movie, other than the characters that it establishes. In the comics, Spider-Man and Daredevil team up a lot. They're both vigilantes that wear red and have a no-kill rule. I don't think Daredevil's actually going to make an appearance in this movie. I wouldn't be surprised if there's like a reference to him though, and I think it's kind of important to know who he is. Matt Murdock is a blind lawyer who was blinded as a kid in a truck accident involving acid, and his dad was a boxer who got killed by getting involved with the mafia. He runs a law firm with his best friend Nelson Foggy, and in the first episode they meet a girl named Karen Page who is falsely framed for a crime that she didn't commit. And anyway, they clear her name and she joins the law firm and they all work together. The biggest thing I would say season 1 does is it establishes Kingpin as a villain. You probably recognize Kingpin as the villain in Spider-Verse. He's kind of like the Thanos of street level heroes. He's been a reoccurring villain ever since the first season up until like present day in the newest Daredevil show. He is mostly considered a Daredevil villain mainly, but he's also a villain for Punisher, Spider-Man, really any vigilante. Anyway, by the end of season 1, Daredevil beats Kingpin and he gets put in prison. Season 2 of Daredevil, I would say, is a lot more relevant to things that are going to happen in Spider-Man Brand New Day because of the characters that it introduces. Most notably, Daredevil season 2 gives us our first appearance of Frank Castle, aka the Punisher. Frank Castle is a Marine veteran. After coming back to his family, one night they're all at Central Park having a good old time and they all get killed by a mob shootout. Frank just barely survives with a bullet to his head. The system fails Frank after seeing that his family's killers were not brought to justice. Frank then decides to take matters into his own hands by becoming the anti-hero known as the Punisher. The Punisher and Daredevil get in a lot of tussles because of their disagreement about their morals. Daredevil, as a Catholic, believes that no one has the right to take another human life and that everyone should be tried by the system. Punisher is fed up with the system and believes that the only way to get real justice is to put criminals down for good. It'll be interesting to see how Spider-Man interacts with Punisher because Spider-Man also has a no-kill rule, so there will probably be a lot of similar arguments. In fact, Punisher actually started out as a Spider-Man villain in the comics. After his debut in season 2 of Daredevil, Punisher gets his own spin-off show, which I don't think will really be relevant to anything that happened in Spider-Man. It's really just important that you know who he is. The other characters that get introduced in Daredevil Season 2 are the Hand, and I know for a fact that they're going to be relevant to Spider-Man because they're in the trailer. The Hand is basically this evil ninja cult who is like obsessed with immortality. All of the members of the Hand have been like alive for hundreds of years because of their obsession with immortality. They're kind of also Iron Fist villains because of that and their ancient origins. But they're also mainly Daredevil villains because the leader of the Hand ends up being Daredevil's ex-girlfriend, Elektra. Well, they killed her and brought her back to life and brainwashed her to be their leader, to be exact. Which goes into Defenders, which is Daredevil teaming up with all of these other street level heroes that I mentioned earlier to defeat the Hand. By the end of Defenders, the Hand is defeated and Daredevil finally brings Elektra back to her senses right before the base that they're in collapses. This seemingly kills Matt and Elektra, except Matt's not actually dead because there's Daredevil Season 3. And apparently Elektra's not dead either because there's set photos of her for Born Again. Who cares? Even though Daredevil Season 3 is one of the best seasons of television that I've ever watched, I wouldn't really say much of it is going to be relevant for Spider-Man. Basically, after almost dying, Daredevil loses his super senses. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, but after the accident that made him go blind, Daredevil got like super enhanced senses. It's kind of like spider sense, but he has it all the time, which is how he's able to do like parkour and beat people up. Anyway, season 3 is all about Daredevil finding himself as he tries to get his senses back and find his faith again, while Kingpin manipulates the FBI into basically freeing him, and he's like back on the streets and doing evil crime stuff. The only noteworthy character this season really introduces is one of Daredevil's other villains called Bullseye. He's basically like an FBI agent that Fisk manipulates into like doing dirty work for him. He's pretty cool because he can like turn anything into a weapon. He has like ridiculously good aim. He's probably not going to be in this movie, but he might show up in later stuff. So by the end of Daredevil Season 3, Daredevil finally finds his footing again and defeats Kingpin for good. For real this time. Except not really, because he's also in Daredevil Born Again. After Season 3 of Daredevil, all of these characters and shows kind of got forgotten about for a really long time. There were no references to them in the MCU, and they never showed up in any of the movies. It was kind of up in the air whether these shows were even still canon or not. Then we finally see Matt Murdock again in Spider-Man No Way Home as Peter Parker's lawyer. We then later start to see like little sprinkles of Daredevil in shows like She-Hulk and Echo. And of course we finally see Kingpin come back in Hawkeye and Echo as well. Although up until this point, it wasn't really clear whether these characters were the same characters that we learned to love through all those shows, or if they were completely new rebooted versions of those characters. That is up until last year when we got Daredevil Born Again, a completely new Daredevil show, which actually was originally supposed to be a complete reboot of the character and everything that I just told you, which would have made it all mean nothing. But they realized how stupid that was, and now it's like a sequel show. Basically season 4 of Daredevil. In this show, we see Fisk come back again and become the mayor of New York. How he was able to become the mayor and get people to vote for him after everything that happened in the last few seasons, I have no idea. One of the big things about Fisk being mayor is like he's very anti-vigilante.
We don't need a gun-toting vigilante who wears a skull on his chest, or a man who dresses in a spider outfit, or a guy who wears devil horns to save us.
So he starts his own anti-vigilante task force to like, you know, get rid of all the vigilantes. Now, obviously, this is mostly from Daredevil trauma, but this also obviously affects Spider-Man and Punisher and other vigilantes as well. Punisher makes an appearance in the show, so we know he's still kicking too. He also just got like a special presentation on Disney Plus, so I guess it's going to lead into Spider-Man. A lot of other stuff happens in the show, but again, I don't really think it's going to be relevant to the movie, so I'm just going to skip ahead to the finale of Season 2. Matt Murdock is finally able to rally people against Fisk and gather evidence against him by revealing to the world that he is Daredevil. This results in a bunch of Daredevil followers storming City Hall, and I guess Fisk at this point realized that he was cooked, so he just slimed out as many people as he could. Instead of just sending Fisk back to jail so he can just escape again, Fisk is exiled from New York. So I think we're done with him now, I guess, maybe? But of course, Matt Murdock doesn't just get off the hook. He revealed to the entire world that he's Daredevil, and there's still an anti-vigilante agenda in New York. So the final shot of Born Again is Matt Murdock being in jail. That's really all I can think of that would be relevant for you to know before watching this movie. Brand New Day takes place about 3 months after season 2 of Born Again, so I'm not sure if Spider-Man will be fighting the anti-vigilante task force because it might not be a thing anymore. It kind of looked like he might, but I'm not sure. We do see in the trailer for Brand New Day that one of the characters from Born Again is elected the new mayor. Really, the main things for you to know before you watch the movie are who the Punisher is and who the Hand are. The Hand are obviously making a comeback in this movie, but I don't know how or why. It does seem like Spider-Man's gonna stay more on the street level vigilante side of Marvel for now, so maybe in the future we'll see him team up with more characters like Daredevil or maybe even Iron Fist or some of the other Defenders. As much as I would like for it to be a cool surprise that Daredevil is in this movie, I seriously doubt it. He's in jail, and we're probably not going to see him until season 3 of Born Again. Plus, the actor literally said that he's not in the movie. But we do see Spider-Man fighting the hand in jail, so...
I am Daredevil.